And we are back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 17. And this is going to be another segment of Content Creator Spotlight presenting X person. And the person who will be joining me here for the Content Creator Spotlight presenting today is Professor Savage Dad, the guy that I met obviously when I was doing my Iron Man podcast. We met in real life. He's the person that we had a Wednesday Sunday show until it became a Sunday show because he left me for his wife. Obviously, he's like, I can't commit to a black man right now. So usually we talk about comic books, but I thought to myself, you know what, there's not really anything comic book related going on right now outside of like DC All In, which we'll probably talk about on next Sunday. We'll probably go over like all the recent comic book news, and then we'll like chop that stuff up for like videos for you guys for the comic book channel. But wanted to kind of just do the one-on-one because obviously you guys like this when this happens, origin stories and seeing people's progression in life and seeing where they're at now. So we're gonna start it right here. How was your life growing up, man?
Normal for the most part.
You had a mom and dad household?
Yeah. Standard American family, dog, brother, sister, etc.
White picket fence?
Oh God, no, we were poor. I grew up in this thing this mythological thing that most people who are white and affluent don't believe exists. I was just a poor white kid because neither of my parents had graduated high school. My dad was a truck driver, and my mom, I don't know, she did stuff. She was a dispatcher for a while at a shipping place, and then she did a part-time job at the school, and then she just kind of stopped working when I was in like 6th grade, I think. I don't remember. So it was pretty much just my dad working, and he was just a delivery guy driving a truck around. So, but no, we were broke, dude. I didn't grow up from money or anything like that. So, no white picket fences. We lived in the hood, not completely in the hood. I had cousins who lived in more of the hood. We lived in like the central, close to the freeway hood. Like the area that we were in was like lower class ish, lower middle class, and it went completely hood. By the time we started moving out of there, it had really gone a bad direction over there by the mall, and we moved up to the north side into middle classishness, and yeah, that's what I did. Let's see, growing up, I don't know, I didn't have a lot, I didn't do a lot. I was just one of these kids from the 80s that ran around, wandered the neighborhood.
Do you remember your first comic book? Actually,
my first comic book, I do. Do I have it out? I have it.
It's the Fantastic Four one, right? It's the Silver Surfer issue, I think you said, right?
It is. Silver Surfer, Warlock Resurrection.
What's crazy is you still have it. Most people lost their first comic, so they got
dude,
or they were in their pants or something.
I lost that a long time ago, and my wife actually got it for me for Christmas last year, which I'm trying to find the damn thing. She surprised me on that, but I had it in the long box this year by my desk. I don't actually have comic books. I don't have any comic books at all, as some people in certain realms of the comic book, the indie comic sphere would say. Anybody who doesn't think Cyber Frog is better than The Dark Knight is clearly not a real comic book fan. But it's in here somewhere. Shit, I'd love to pull it out. Not my dick, the comic. I know, motherfucker. This is gonna piss me off too, because it's in here somewhere. I think, unless it's in the box below it. See, I have more than one long box. Unlike some people, why is that issue with a flash? See, I'm sitting here like digging through like legitimate classics, like Man with No Fear. Yeah, Man Without Fear, Daredevil.
Yeah,
this is
Frank Miller.
This is the origin story of Daredevil. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the premiere penultimate. I'm pronouncing the word penultimate. There you go. 300 first print original by Frank Miller as well.
Yeah,
I don't fuck around, but people think I don't have comics. Like, motherfucker, I've been reading for a long time, a long time. Like second Deadpool miniseries signed by Mark Waid.
Yeah, it's crazy. Mark Waid did so much shit in comics, despite basically getting a leg up
Joker.
on. Well, that book, that compilation in an Epic collection also goes for a lot of money too. They haven't reprinted even the good stuff from Deadpool, honestly.
Oh yeah, dude. This is the second issue. This took me 6 months to find after I got into it. This is infinitely more rare than that first issue. This should be
That's
worth twice as much as the first
they've
issue.
never
I
the
guarantee
only
you that's
time they
harder to find.
reprint the only time they've reprinted that is an Epic collection, and that Epic collection goes for like 60 some odd dollars. Damn, that's a lot of Deadpool stuff. Holy crap.
This is the first issue of the original ongoing series.
Yeah, do you have the one where he's holding it's the throwback pose to like Slade Wilson because he's the one where he's holding that giant gun, actually.
Oh, I think I do somewhere. Oh, nope, it's not in here. All right. So those Silver Surfer books are around. Oh God. Remember when people thought this was gonna matter?
Oh, I mean,
Jeff Johns, rip.
oh god, he has to throw in a Jeff Johns story, everyone. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, dude, gotta get
Holy
it all
crap.
out there. Oh, there it is. Hell yeah. All right, so the first comic book I ever got, I remember this. I was 11 years old, and my dad gave this to me for my birthday. He gave me this first one, and then we went to get the preceding issues at Atomic Comics here in the
Yeah.
Valley. It used to be over by where I lived, which was over by a mall that isn't a mall anymore. It's it's a train station basically with a Walmart by it. Like it's hood. It's straight up hood over there.
Because
But
you remember growing up in that time period, I don't know what happens in schools now. Even when I went to school, I was shunned and talked down on and shitted on for anything nerd like. The only thing nerd like that was even remotely acceptable that you could talk about without getting picked on was like Dragon Ball Z. That's all I
oh, dude, you're
remember.
way younger than me. Dragon Ball was an anime, was barely a thing
Mhm.
when I was that age. But it was, I mean, those are the first comics I ever got in red. But I didn't appreciate them kind of at
Mhm.
the time. I didn't really have any way to keep collecting them. I didn't have money. My
Yeah.
parents didn't have money. I didn't get allowance. I mean, I guess I did, but like I spent all summer saving my allowance to get
Mhm.
what was it? A Super Nintendo. So I
Oh
saved up
gosh, yeah.
all summer to get a Super Nintendo, got that Super Nintendo. I was way more into video games than comic books back in the day. So
Yeah, I
like
remember. I
that's
remember that. I had to save up money to get an Xbox 360. I remember any extra money I got, I put an Xbox 360 on layaway, and I paid it off to the point where I could pull it out. Man, opening up a brand new console had its own level of feeling to it. Oh, it was amazing.
oh
Oh
dude,
God,
yeah.
man.
I remember when I got the first console I ever bought myself with my own
Mhm,
money. I mean, besides that, like from working a job and like well, that wasn't no. Let me rephrase that. The first console I ever bought with my own money,
mhm,
day of launch,
mhm.
was Game Boy Advance, the OG, no backlit
My
screen,
brother, yeah,
didn't
we had
fucking
that one.
matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I played
the
that
the
motherfucker in the sun.
the game changer with that was the Game Boy SP, and you'd have to get batteries anymore, so you could just get a
Yep.
charger. I swear, when we got the Game Boy SP and we had a charger, that charger was next to me, and I would sit down and play a game all night. I was on that thing. I had it in my hand until I went to bed.
Oh yeah,
Essentially,
dude, the SP was sick. I never had one. I kind of bypassed all that and I got the original DS. But I
I had
got
that
the
one too.
red
Yeah,
super cool edition, the one
I had the
that
black
had the
one. Yeah,
cartridge loader for the Game Boy Advance and the DS shit.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
it
remember. I had the original
load them
DS.
both.
The original DS, you could put the Game Boy Advance games in there because it was backwards compatible, and you could play
Yep.
them. Yeah, yeah.
There was never a point I feel like to the DSi. I never feel like you really got no, sorry, not the DSi like wasn't enough. And I felt the same way kind of about that later version of the 3DS that they did that never like it was supposed to be some sort of processor upgrade, but there was only like 2 games ever made for it that really
Mhm,
used it. Developers didn't really engage with it because it wasn't a whole new console, so it never
mhm.
really mattered. But like the original DS, I would go for. My son really wants an SP, which I think about it sometimes of picking it up, but I think it would be better to get the OG DS because he gets the best of both worlds there. The
Yeah, and
first
you get the
DS,
Game
he's
Boy
going to get the
Advance
Game Boy
games.
Advance. Yep,
Yeah, the Game Boy
already
Advance games
there.
come out way higher quality on the DS actually too.
Yep. So
Mhm.
he'd have a DS and that together. And I think that's like if I was going to get him another console, I would just do that for the handhelds. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the what was the first one? The first big console I ever bought
The
for
first one
myself?
we had, okay, so we had a Game Boy. most of our stuff was secondhand that someone gave us. So originally, I remember getting a green Game Boy Color. Not the color one. Ours was black and white. I never had
Yeah.
the Game Boy Color. We had the black and white one. Then we got the NES, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers. It had the square controller, the one where you
Oh
play
yeah.
Duck Hunt on. I had
I had
that
an
was
NES.
our first console. That was our first console, not a handheld.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had a GameCube.
I had an NES, and then I had both a Genesis and eventually Super
Mhm,
Nintendo. So I got
mhm.
those. I was always more of a Genesis guy. I loved the catalog there more. I was more engaged with the catalog. I mean that's the thing about that the original console war, the OG one, is that like you could fall on either side just depending on what games really stuck with you. Like if you were into Final Fantasy and everything, you probably ended up more with the NES because that was where it was.
Mhm.
But like if you were into Sonic, you liked like Vector Man, and you liked a lot of these like I don't know if you'd call them indie developers, but tons of like more small scale developers were there. And I always felt like the best
Yeah.
renditions and the best controller for like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat was the Sega 6 button. That thing, that was tits,
Mhm.
man. That was the perfect controller, dude.
Same with movies too. When we had all these like different companies, like an example would be like Dimension Films when they were a producer or a production company. It feels like when there was more diversity in gaming and like I don't know, video games or
Oh yeah,
movies or
dude.
television, things were a lot more better as far as like other people were willing to take those risks because they were just more
Well,
willing to do them.
this is what it became, dude. That was back when diversity of thought was a thing. You had so many of these different
Mhm.
independent creators who came up with new and original shit. Now you've got like every single fucking development company out there is basically owned by Sony or Microsoft. And Square Enix can sit there and try to
Yeah.
pretend that they're not fucking Sony first party, but they pretty much are anymore. And the same thing with Activision and all the shit. Like this is the problem with like a lack of legitimate something to stop these legitimate monopolies that have come about. Like nobody gives a shit about the video game space, so they don't do anything with this. But Microsoft is very
Mhm.
much a monopoly. They are killing gaming by buying all these studios. Back in the day with
Mhm.
Sega, there was tons of these different studios. They'd get published, they'd go through a different publisher. You had all these the
Yeah.
studios working on shit, and they were all their own thing. Now, I know that that means that a ton of them weren't always sustainable, but look at the catalogs. Look at the difference in catalog. Like, I bet if you looked it up right now, if you looked at what the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo had, and then you
Mhm.
compare that to like what consoles today have, as far as games, back in those days, dude, games were dropping fucking like weekly, man. You were seeing new shit,
Mhm.
different shit, innovative shit. Like today, you would never get games like a Comic Zone or Vector Man or Earthworm
Mhm.
Jim or fucking Toe Jam and Earl or hell, dude, you wouldn't even
Mhm.
get fucking Sonic the Hedgehog today. You would not. You would not see that shit in gaming today coming out. And that's just the Sega Genesis side of shit. Like Super Nintendo was far more in with the JRPG crowd, but you wouldn't
Mhm.
see the quality of those JRPG. Like Chrono Trigger would never have fucking got a chance today because it was unheard of. I mean, I know it was Toriyama's thing and everything else, so that might have carried it over the line, but nobody in America knew what the fuck that was. But and
Mhm.
that's what Super Nintendo had, but they had a ton of other stuff too. They had all the Nintendo first party shit. Like Sega relied very heavily on a lot of different developers to bring them a very strong catalog of games with the Genesis. And it didn't they couldn't follow up, dude. That was the thing. Like I feel like both Sega and Nintendo
Mhm.
hamstringed themselves with that because they went balls deep on it and neither of them were quite the same after. If you think about it, Nintendo basically fell off after the Super Nintendo, dude. What'd they do?
Mhm.
What was there next? It took them till they got to the N64 and they made it to the
Mhm.
N64, but the N64 was never the Super Nintendo. And at that point, they were up against Sony, and Sony was swinging big, fat Sony dollar dicks everywhere because Sony had a fuck ton
I
of
think
money.
what really put them back in the conversation was the GameCube. That's what really put them back in.
N- It put them back in from an innovation and everything, but dude, GameCube was a sleeper, man. GameCube was a
Well, it
slow
never sold
burn.
as
When it
well as the
dropped,
I remember the PS2 in that generation was the best selling console. I think it was neck and neck with the Xbox because that was Microsoft's first one. And then
Well,
I
you had the
remember
Xbox and then the PS3, I think, with the GameCube, and it just
I think
couldn't.
that's the best era of gaming. The GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2, PS3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii era. I think that's the best gaming
Well, I think
generation
that's,
ever.
in all honesty, I think that's the second real console war. Like all the rest
Yeah,
of
the
the in between
PS3
shit was
versus
never
a
really there.
360. Oh my god, that I remember when those systems dropped, man. The Red
Yeah,
Ring of
PS3 and
Death and all
360
that
was a
stuff.
real thing. And the
Yeah,
GameCube kind of slid in between that because the GameCube was hanging out there between those two, and then the
yeah.
Wii U showed up, or the Wii showed up. When the Wii showed up,
The Wii definitely changed a lot too. People
they
wanted to do the whole interactive games and all
dude,
that stuff. Yeah,
it was a great gimmick for a time, and basically it lasted the life of the console for the most part. Like you got about 5 years out of that gimmick, but then it
remember it
fell
was
flat on
backwards
the ground.
compatible with the GameCube controller slots
Yep.
you could put into it. Yeah, and then
No, it
their
was
updated
perfect, dude.
one. You know, they made an updated version without the slots, and I was like, why is this not backwards compatible? Do, why did you not?
Yeah.
Why do you think the Wii U failed? Actually,
I don't know really, in all honesty. I don't think it had the catalog. It was the same mistake that Nintendo had made before. After the Super Nintendo, they got kind of lazy. The Wii made them lazy because the Wii made them a fuck ton of money. The Wii was huge. The Wii
Wii was
crushed
very
everybody. The
huge.
Wii
Yeah.
stand out on every, and that's what I fear about the Switch too, because the Switch has been too big almost.
Mhm.
It's been so big and so good that I don't know that Nintendo doesn't know how to drop the ball, because every other console they seem to kind of drop the ball, or they like with the with the 32-bit era they don't even show up to the game. They do a 64-bit console, which again the 64
Mhm.
was big, but it you had to go up against PlayStation, and they couldn't
Yeah.
market like Sony did at the time, man. Like that was it didn't stand up to the PlayStation as well.
And
Now,
now they're all
again,
just
in
competing
retrospect,
against each other in well, basically now we're at the point where Nintendo's on their own island, basically competing
yep,
against themselves, and then Sony and Microsoft are competing for scraps. Microsoft is a one-trick pony that can only offer their customer base Game Pass. And Sony's at this point now where they used to be pretty exclusive. Now
yeah,
they're putting out their first party titles on Steam because the sales haven't been there. People factor in the sales for console games have gone down. Okay, this is not like I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be an asshole. I'm saying that because this is information we know and is available for us. You can just read it. Console gaming itself, the console sales are down, specifically regarding like the Xbox,
well,
and the
of
console
course they
games
are.
themselves are down.
Well, MSK, that's because what's come out? What's out there driving sales? What is out
Yeah,
there making
Concord.
people give a shit? No, dude, no, like even the people who were hate playing that one or review playing that one, not enough, man. But
They
again,
wanted their own version of Overwatch. When Overwatch dropped, it was very big, and they
yeah,
made their own Overwatch and they tanked it. They weren't even willing to fix it. They were just like, you know what? I just have to get rid of this, honestly. And it's like that's the problem: is that the companies will put all this money to something rather than trying to fix it and find the actual problem and fix it to get more players. Sony's like, you know what? We'll just
well,
get rid of it. That's it.
well,
Those are your only options.
MSK,
You just have to get rid of it, or you
the
can't
problem,
fix it.
yeah, the problem with that game is that it was the problem was the fact that it was so systemically bad. It went like you can't just rewrite the whole
Mhm.
game. I mean, they'd have to load a patch or a DLC that's basically a whole
Or
new
just look
game.
at it. Look at it recently. The PS5 Pro. All this stuff they're trying to offer you as an upgrade. If you have a regular PS5, it's fine. Like it's like that family member who always has to upgrade to like the newest thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
are you really getting anything that big of an upgrade? Actually, or you just like if you just want to flex your money, just say you want to flex your money. Don't say this is actually much more better than what you just had right there. Or
Oh
even
yeah.
if you have a PS4, every game from the PS4 is on the PS5. So why would you switch from your PS4? Even that, like
I haven't.
I have people still playing PS4 that I know. Like why to
I
be
still
fair,
have
why
a
would you?
dude. I have a PS4 Slim. I'm not gonna buy a PS5. What the fuck am I gonna buy it for? What am I gonna get on it? I have a 3070 here in my desktop and an 8-core fucking processor. Like, why would
You
I
have an
buy?
Xbox Series X. You have that
Yeah, I
too.
have a Series X, and I like Series X is basically peak console because it's about as close as you're gonna get to a console just being a PC as
Oh,
will be
okay.
put out. It's
Mhm.
done. It does all of my TV media shit that I want it to.
Yeah.
It plays 4K Blu-rays. It's got Dolby Atmos and all the shit that I want it to do with
Mhm.
my sound bar. It's, and it plays games. So what more? And it plays all of my old Xbox shit.
Mhm.
All of my Xbox One shit is there. I can play all of it. I don't have Series X discs. I have Xbox One games. It'll play 360 games. It's backwards compatible. Like, I mean, this is one thing that Microsoft got right is that they worked it out to get their emulators to work all the way back through 360. And they
Yeah.
didn't
Mhm.
change much of shit between. I had every iteration of the Xbox One. That might have been one of
Mhm.
my favorite consoles of all time. The Xbox One was a very well polished machine
Mhm.
for Microsoft. And the only reason I upgraded to this
Mhm.
is because I actually found it while it was impossible to find, and I wanted ray tracing, and this will do ray tracing.
Mhm.
So I got
So you
that
think that
for
system is better than the PlayStation 5, just by far?
I would take the Series X over it, but this is the thing. Neither of them have games. The only reason I have that is a mild
Mhm.
upgrade over my One X because I sold the One X and I paid for most of that. So it cost me like $150 at
Mhm.
the end of the day to have the
Yeah.
Series X. So it's a little newer. It's a little more powerful enough to do the GPU will do ray tracing and it plays all of the games for Xbox One that I never finished.
Mhm.
And it does, and if I wanted to turn on Game Pass, when I bought it, it actually came with 2 years of Game Pass.
How much is Game Pass though? Like for forgot, it doesn't matter.
It's like
They changed
15 bucks a
all of
month
it.
or some shit.
Forgot they changed all of it now. It's gonna change in a few
Yeah.
months for like bullshit. Oh god,
It'll
lord.
probably be
So
20
on
bucks
Game
a month or
Pass,
something like
let's say
that,
if
like
someone wanted to
Netflix.
go play like I don't know Arkham Origins or whatever, you could go play it on your Xbox Series X and just download it. That's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just the
Mhm.
license maintains as long as you have a subscription. But I really got it because I could just keep playing all of my Xbox One games
Mhm.
that I already have or 360 games.
The
Like this
only
is the
thing going for
reason
the
that I
PS5 is the Marvel games from Insomniac. That'll be the only edge they have. And at this point, is it like,
they don't have anything else and all
yeah,
of those are going to be on my PC and my PC can play them.
yeah.
That's the thing. So I'm
That's
not
the only
worried
edge they
about it.
have over the Xbox
Yeah.
currently is just those Insomniac Marvel games. You want to play
Yeah.
the new Wolverine, Venom, X-Men games coming out, but it's like, to be fair, those are going to come out in such gaps. If you really want to get a PlayStation 5 just to play them, you could have already gotten one in that small window anyway. So for me, the new console I'll buy when I pay off this other thing I have to pay off, and this is my last week on it. I'm gonna choose between an Xbox Series X and a PS5, leaning more towards the Xbox because I just like the controller better. I just generally think the
Well,
controller's
the
always
Xbox
been better.
controller is still probably peak controller of all time. I don't think
Oh
that
yeah.
if you're an adult male, that's the controller you want to be playing with.
My
I
problem
don't
with
have one
gaming
here, but
recently is the whole. I understand
like I
you want to
hate this
remaster.
controller.
I never liked it. It's the shapes things too. I hate shapes.
Yeah, it's weird, but I don't care. But the reason
I
the
think it's the
Series X,
remaster thing. The remaster thing is so just like I get it.
oh,
You
it's
want to
dude, it's
update games and stuff, but it's like
well, that's
it
the
kills
thing.
everything because you know what they can do? They can just remaster games and then sell you the same bullshit you already played. That's it.
Well, that's the only reason why they do it. But this is the thing, dude. Create the creativity in these studios is dead. They all got bought by Microsoft. Like this is the thing. Like the next generation of consoles are almost going to be they're going to be more that. You're going to get Fortnite, whatever the fuck Blops is coming out at the time that no one's gonna give a shit about, but it will still somehow sell. Madden and the associated sports games around
Oh, like FIFA,
EA
MLB
and all that shit.
presents.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
that and mm, I don't know, something from Square Enix or wherever. But and this is why I don't care and why I appreciate the Series X more than anything else because Microsoft made it so I can go back and play. I don't know if I can play original Xbox, but I can play One and I can play 360. So I can play all the way back through their back catalog. And the Series X is basically in the same boat as the PS5.
Mhm.
There's nothing there. There's no new games to buy on any of these consoles. I mean, dude, if you're as old as me and you can remember Super Nintendo and Sega
Mhm.
Genesis and that battle, and look at what there is today, like it's
The biggest
almost like
games coming
consoles
out,
aren't even a thing anymore, dude.
the one game that I know everyone's looking forward to is the same one I'm looking forward to as well, is Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, which is Budokai Tenkaichi 4, for being completely honest. But to be
Yeah.
fair, I'll say I played every single one of those games growing up. I played all in order. I even played the PSP ones, actually, when we used to have that as a thing. Unless they do something drastically different with a lot of what they're going to do, I haven't seen any reveal trailers or anything. I know what's going to happen. I've seen a lot of it. Those are basically the same game repeatedly. You know, I'll play it. If I
Supposedly, they're
got it, I
changing
play
some
it.
dynamics back,
Yeah.
like
So
old versions or something.
even with you remember playing Sonic Generations? So they're gonna bring out the Shadow Sonic Generations, but it's basically
Yeah,
just a glorified like Shadow DLC, and it's just Sonic Generations. You know?
yep. I already own Sonic Generations
Me
too,
too.
so
Yeah, same here.
yeah.
I have it on Steam and I have it on. I have it physical. I do have physical. No, I have it on Steam right here. I literally have the game right in front of me, actually. So the
Yeah, I
next thing
just
I'll
have it
ask
on
you
Steam.
is you're married, you have family. So how you met your wife in college, actually?
Yep.
Because you went to college after high school.
I didn't go to high school, but yes.
You didn't go to high school? You were
No,
homeschooled.
I technically my parents would
It's a half and
my
half
mother would
thing.
like to say that. No, it just never really happened. They bought some CDs from some like learning store at the
That's how you
mall
know it's old. Yeah.
and
Oh
gave them
my
to me,
god.
and
Holy
they didn't know
shit.
what to do. I knew more about the computer than they did. I went and hung out, like I read a lot while I was home.
Mhm.
I looked at shit on the internet, but this is back in the day when there was like web pages and AOL. So it wasn't like looking at the internet today. It's literally like I just go here to like look up something I want to know about, and that's what there was.
Mhm.
Because there wasn't all the crazy shit that there is today. Like there was,
Mhm.
you know, normal for the most part internet. There wasn't even you couldn't watch videos on the internet. You fucking called in with your telephone line. So basically you could load up text and look at it. And that was about it. So but I didn't really learn much. And then every Wednesday I would leave my house in the morning and walk over to the comic book shop and
Mhm.
hang out there all fucking day. And I did that from halfway through 8th grade till fuck, I don't know, dude, till I was about 18. So
Mhm.
a lot of time in comic shops, let's just say that. And on the weekends or other days of the week, I'd ride my bike over there and shit, and I would hang out. Like I knew the owner of the shop, I knew the guys there. It was actually the first store in all of the state, basically, where I live, that rented anime VHS tapes. Like you could get Ranma one half and fucking watch the whole show there because he would rent them out. He didn't have a video section, he didn't have anything else, but you go up there, you
Mhm.
go to the counter and say, "Hey, I want to rent Dragon Ball," and he's got the VHS tapes for you to rent and watch. So it was a really cool
Mhm.
dynamic that brought a lot of people into the store. He sold a lot of manga. He sold a lot of Japanese scroll art too. Like he was way ahead of his time. But this guy just like, I guess he was a veteran, so he'd traveled Japan, like he'd been stationed there for a while, so he was familiar with it. At least this is the story, if the way I remember it. We're talking,
Mhm.
over 20 years ago. But apparently he was familiar with the culture and the popularity of it there, and even the popularity of it in some pockets in the United States. These things were hitting television. He thought, well, I'm going to see if I can get these, where can I get these VHSs that have been dubbed over or have subtitles and rent them out? And so he did. And it was like, it's a really good idea. But it was also a great comic shop. I liked being there. Um, most of the people there, I realized today, um, that were there most of the day, like me, didn't have jobs. I don't know what the fuck they were doing at the shop all day. Like me, I'm a latchkey fucking kid who should have been in school but wasn't, which is really weird given how
Mhm.
long I've spent working in education was most of my early career, and then
Mhm.
you know having a master's degree and shit.
Yeah,
teaching, all that shit doesn't jibe with that. But yeah, no, I didn't go to high school at all.
that's crazy. Yeah, to be fair, looking back now, when I think of like my school life, there's parts of it I did enjoy. I'm not gonna lie, but if you look at the overall aspect, outside of like the good times, it's generally just a fucking useless experience. The only reason why I think parents do it is because that's just basically free childcare, essentially.
Now, to some extent, I mean, there are some things like even through high school that you've got to figure out like how to actually do work. Like I'm not super worried about my high schooler. I mean, I'm not worried about the quality of the work that he's putting forth in the classes. I'm more worried about him learning that he actually has to fucking do it. Like you have to
Ugh,
write this fucking
yeah.
report. You have to read this book. You need to do this shit because this is the kind of shit that translates into being
Mhm.
able to go out into the workforce and having a work ethic and shit like that, and him needing to understand like, hey, you don't get allowance, or you don't get video games, you don't get television rights when you have shitty grades, or don't turn in your fucking work, or don't even fucking like try to do the work. Like, so that's where I'm kind of at with it. Like I'm not worried about
Mhm.
being an A student. I'm worried about the effort to actually do the work, to go in and put in the work. Like if you're at least
Mhm.
actually making an effort, doing the work, completing tests, turning in assignments, and if it isn't grade A quality, then it isn't grade A quality. Because in all honesty, what's going to drive somebody to do really quality work is to have an actual distinct interest in what it is you're doing. And if you
Yeah.
don't give a shit about a particular point in history, or this particular scientific theory, or the book that you're reading, you're probably not going to have a good book report. You're probably not going to do good on a test. It's just a matter of actually putting in the effort to do the work. Like the interest comes later when you find an interest, when you find something. Like I usually like I'll go in his room and I'll be like, "Hey, what are you what are if he does have his tablet up like he's actually working, it's usually him working on history. He's interested in history. He likes history stuff, so that's what he's always going for. But I'm like, dude, like you have like a shit ton of stuff not turned in Spanish. Could you button up the history and go turn some shit, your Spanish in, please? But like,
Mhm.
does it have to be perfect? No, it just you have to actually be making an effort to do the work. That's what I want. And that's what I think is most important.
So, after being married this long, and you guys have
Did you?
four
Oh, for a
kids?
second, it looked like you froze. Did you change your internet?
No, no.
Three kids,
Three kids. Is there anything you look back on now versus
bro.
then, and you would
You
realize you
warned
would
me
change
about this.
something?
Give him a
Hold on. Give me
second,
a sec.
audience. There
Give
it
me one
is.
sec.
Oh, yep. Your internet's chopping up on you, bro. So
I'm gonna
just
do
so the
this.
audience knows,
Give me
he's
one
been
sec.
having some internet issues because the
Give me one sec.
provider is dick. See, but he's got a
Okay.
methodology with which to fix it.
I should be back now, right? Am I back?
Sounds like you're back. Are you moving? Are you moving live? There you go. Yep. Okay. I was just telling the audience about the gimp that you keep in the closet behind you.
Yeah, I'm saying, given the fact that you're married and you have three kids, you've been married for as long as you have, is there anything you look back on and go, I probably should have did that differently? As far as like maybe like perspectives,
Eh,
actions you took, you know, something you maybe should have thought out differently better.
eh. Like I I don't hold a lot of regrets onto things. But yeah, I mean, little things. I mean, kind of a lot of the stuff that I've been dealing with right now, I probably should have taken action on it, 6 months before I
Mhm.
did. But we'll see how the next week goes and see if all of that matters. That's the thing about it, dude. You run into things and you wind up into situations because maybe you waited too long to do something, or you made a mistake when you were doing it. But at the end of the day, like if you're actively working to try to either correct the mistake or own the mistake and fix the mistake, or you're actively like pushing yourself in a direction, trying to make a change that needs to be made, and you really put forth a strong effort towards it, and you successfully do make that change at the end of the day, it's like I look back more on the process of what it took to make that change more than I regret the fact that I didn't do this at that point in time. It's like, but I worked really hard to make this change because I'd waited
Yeah.
too long or I did this thing wrong. And that's what I remember more is like the difficulty of that process and the things that I learned through that process. And yeah, I'm not big on regrets. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have many. I don't encounter that. Like I don't process information that way. It's just that
The more that I got older,
it's
regrets
more like it
became
was
stupid.
frustrating than anything.
Yeah, the more that I got older, regrets became stupid because I just realized I just looked at it all like a learning experience. You gotta understand, if you don't have regrets, it means you didn't technically learn from the experience. I just look at my regrets as like learning experiences on what to not or do, depending on how my outlook is on it now. Because I feel like going through those scenarios changes your outlook and perspectives. And I think if you never went through that, well, you wouldn't have had a changed perspective or an outlook on said situation, though, you know? Because like
Yeah.
if you just wallow in like regrets, you're just gonna become super guilty and super like the self guilt will probably just eat at you, which I think life's too short to have that. I could walk outside tomorrow and get hit by a bus and I could die. So no more regrets. We just do learning experiences here, you know? Because if you look at it from a learning experience, you feel a bit differently about it. You're like, you know what? You look at it positively a lot more. Like, I could do that better next time. And sometimes it's a subconscious thing too. Like if you subconsciously understand what you did wrong, but you're gonna work towards actively making it better, that's different too.
Yeah.
But then again, I only regret being black. That's just my thing. I'm secretly a white guy.
All right, Clayton.
Kanye West was like, I'm gonna go death con on the Jewish people. Yeah, you probably shouldn't tweet that by the owner of Twitter who's a
Wait,
Jewish person.
did he? That was the old one, right? Not the new. He
That was
didn't
the
just do
tweet
this
that got him
again, did he?
banned. He said, I'm gonna go
Okay.
death con on the Jewish people. And then he got yeeted. And then Elon Musk let him back and he got yeeted again because he's just a crazy person. God, man.
Yeah, Kanye's fucking wild, dude. One of the greatest pieces of internet that's just ever happened is him going on Alex Jones and having Alex Jones have like the same moment that a lot of people who ever had Alex Jones on their show had, where they're just like, "Fuck, this is getting a little too wild."
Now you're like, man, now I can understand why I booted this guy out of my fucking studio. Holy crap. So, well, you don't have any daughters, do you? You have just 3 boys, right?
Nope. Nope. I retired from the game before that round. I could have though. I feel like I could have done like another kid, maybe 2. I don't know. I think I gave
I
up
always
and
think
retired too early from the game.
1 is too much already in and of itself. 1 kid is just
One ain't
woo.
shit, dude. One is
You
easy.
serious?
One is
You're
as easy, dude. One is as easy as
what?
having a puppy dog because they do the same kind of shit. They shit on the floor, they piss on things, they barf.
They throw up on your mouth and you
It's
burp them too
yeah.
hard.
We can do any of that kind of shit. But yeah, having 1 kid is a cakewalk. That was
Mm,
nothing. That didn't even really that didn't eat. I mean, initially, it doesn't really hit the budget. It's kind of the outlay for a crib, like a breast pump, and
diapers.
those are like
Yeah.
the 2 most expensive things. Diapers just become part of the budget, man. If you budget that into your groceries, you're you should be fine, especially when it's just like 2 people eating and they're little. Little is fine. They cost more money as they get older.
Yeah, don't they have
You
that
got to buy
special
shoes
formula
and clothes
stuff?
regularly and
Yeah,
shit.
when kids are younger, don't they have like little special things where they can get full basically from like small certain snacks and shit? But I guess it would
Oh
pile
yeah.
up depending on how much your kid eats actually. So you think people kind of overrate how expensive it is to have kids actually?
And in like when from like the ages of 1 to 3, yeah, they
Yeah.
blow it way the fuck out of proportion.
But to be
Like
fair,
and
those people don't have good working scenarios anyway because they could be homeless. They could be a black Shaquisha with no job getting ran through by Daquan and Jabu Jabu or some shit. So she would look at things as expensive because she doesn't have a job. You look at things more
well,
expensive.
yeah,
Have
it's way
money,
more
actually.
expensive if you don't have
Yeah.
a job or anything. But this is the thing. You don't even have to be like a great person or a great parent. And I argue if that's a thing that kind of exists. But if you have a job, you're gonna have a child, you look for ways to afford these things. And if you can't, what you do is you find a better job or another job. You
Mhm.
can work 2 jobs. Like, I would have worked 2 jobs. I've worked 3 jobs before. I'm only at 2 right now, thankfully, but I'm trying to do the side business thing, making some money with the 3D printer, maybe making some money with this filming stuff with the camera,
WZ
et cetera,
says,
et cetera.
Professor, how much was the hospital bill when your youngest was born? I mean, don't you have insurance? Oh,
So
insurance too.
this,
That's
yeah,
a
I
lot of
had
money.
insurance, but also at the time I worked for the university as an IT person, which meant I had state benefits. Now, people who want the government to pay for benefits, if you want to do that, go work for the government. You actually get pretty good benefits. I mean, I don't know
Michael
about
said that
every
too.
state, but
Yeah,
like
my
in
ex
my
works for the
state,
government
yeah,
technically, so she's
yeah,
benefits
you
are
you know,
great actually.
if you need good benefits, if you're going to be building a family, it's not a terrible place to be. Just realize that you're not going to get paid, but shit, like you get great benefits, but your pay is ass for the work that you're doing. You're way underneath what the current marketplace would demand for that, but you are getting pretty baller benefits. So I
You ever heard of
had
the protection
paid,
plan?
yeah, a protection plan.
You ever heard of the protection plan? You know, the condoms that they sell, the magnums, the
Oh,
XLs.
bruh. My first kid, the condom broke and the pill failed. So that shit don't mean nothing, bro.
You said the second one was a quickie.
Hmm?
Oh, no, that was someone else. That was George
No,
Lopez.
yeah. No, dude. My first kid, at least I assume the condom was broken and the pill did not seem to work because we
That's what my
used them
wife
both.
said
I mean,
too.
we use both forms of birth control. And this is the thing when they tell you that, oh,
Mhm.
it's got a 99.99% prevention rate. So only 0.01%. Well, bro, that's just that's just a statistic. That statistic could happen today, tomorrow, 3 years from now, or it may have
Yeah.
happened 3 weeks ago and you don't know yet.
Well,
Wrap it up all you want.
the other disingenuous part that they don't mention that nobody realizes is that the same company that said that is the same one producing the product. They have to tell you that. No one understands
Yep.
that. Of course, biasly, they're going to say we're the most effective ones because they always want to sell you a
Well, they even
product.
say that about the pill and everything else, but it's still just a statistic. There's still a 0.1% chance. And it doesn't matter where, like, that's just
Isn't those shots
a
that women get more effective anyway? Those patch ones
they
they
are
have?
because they turn down the hormones and they do other things to their body.
Mhm.
But that's the thing, dude. Those hormonal fucking birth controls fuck women up. Like, it's not
Mm.
good for them at all.
And women are already fucking mentally ill as it is.
But it does stuff to their body too, though, man. It makes it very difficult for
There
other
was a
things.
there's a story that I read on Twitter that a girl took birth control since she was 18 or 17 because she was just a flaming whore, and she became what's the word where the word where you can't have kids anymore.
Infertile.
Yeah,
Oh, well, yeah, it's
crazy.
because it screws with your dude. Anything you put in your body that's fucking with your hormones is going to do weird shit to your body, and it's going to make you
Mhm.
uncomfortable. In most like the most general instances for women, though, it can cause them to become overweight, and it can fuck with their metabolism and their there's I mean you can go Google it, but there's tons of kind of things that women have problems with it. Um, after we had a kid, we were just like kind of she did the some form of it. I don't remember what it was, but general birth control. But then we stopped it. I can't remember what the hell it's called, but either way, we stopped doing it, and it took us about another year to have the second that we worked on it, and then after that, we had the third. When we didn't expect it at all, but we, just kind of gave up on the
And you're
protection at
in
that point.
and you're in Arizona. It's crazy because you have a comic shop around you. I've never had a comic shop around me. We have to drive out to find them, and it's crazy how
I
you said
do.
I have like three around me. It's like you guys have more than I do. Michael said he could like go out to get one. It's like I would love to be able to go out to a fucking comic shop and be inside one and just get my books from there and just have it that way. I could just have them handy,
Yeah.
man. It's just but the
I
thing here,
don't buy
man.
anything from there though, often. I
Yeah.
mean, if like when we did the Wolverine reviews, I bought those, but
Are
like
you
I'm
gonna
not,
get the DC All In special? Are you gonna get that?
I don't know. I thought about going to look at it. I mean, if you pick it up and you want to review it, we can, but like my money's been getting dumped on like, you know,
Mhm.
creators out there who actually send books out in a reasonable amount of time. So the thing is though that Graham Nolan like did the the Indiegogo for this, but this was really just a new Indiegogo on an old book he'd already put out before. Like both of these books he'd put out a while ago.
Well, I'll ask you about this because you follow the same sphere of YouTubers that I do. the Eric July stuff with the EVS, you were a fan of, you knew about EVS when he was a comic artist, right? Do you
Oh, dude,
remember
I've got
like
his
the
whole
early
Green
stages of like
Lantern run.
Comicsgate actually from him?
Do I have Comicsgate stuff from him?
No. Do you remember the early years of Comicsgate that he was a part of?
Oh yeah, Comic Artist Secrets Pro and shit, and like it was,
Mhm.
he seemed to be like sane, or at least somewhat
Mhm.
like a normal,
The
not
fact that
normal.
Mark Wade might
But
potentially be more sane than him is a scary thought to think about.
yeah, well, you know, Mark Wade as a writer
Yeah.
is not as good as Ethan Van Sciver is an artist.
Yeah.
Like like Mark Wade has always been the beneficiary of working with great artists. Not
Yeah.
always, but a lot of the time. Like his work on Captain America, Ron Garney's art was what held that up, man. It was
Even on
good.
his
It was so
Fantastic Four run, I forgot the artist on his Fantastic Four run. Tremendous. Great.
God. Salvador
Even when he
Lacroix? Was that Mark
even when
Wade?
he was on when he was on
Salvador LaRocca.
Daredevil, when he was on Kingdom Come, Daredevil, Fantastic
Yep.
Four, Justice League,
Every time, dude.
Shazam recently, he has Dan Mora. Dan Mora is just incredible. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
He's actually insane. He's his writing is good. I will never take that away from him. He's just obviously clearly
It's
a
some of
nut
it's
job.
good.
He can be a
had
little bit
good
over.
moments.
He's let the success go to his head. I think he has.
Oh yeah. Well,
At
like,
one point, they literally did kick him out. He's actually mentally deranged, people.
well, that's the thing. Like his story with Ra's al Ghul and JLA. Shit, what was it called again?
That's a Tower of Babel story.
Yeah, the Tower of Babel. That was fucking good. That was, in all honesty, that's probably the one story that I can credit him almost entirely for. Kingdom Come, that was him and Alex Ross, and I don't think
Yeah.
without Alex Ross that story had the effect and lastingness that it did.
Mhm.
But Tower of Babel was definitely Mark Wade. That's
Mhm.
all him. I can't credit anybody else there. So, also the early Superman Batman shit, I got to give him that. That was
Mhm.
good.
He's currently
It's a good
doing
run.
so. He sucked off the industry so hard to get back in. I guarantee you they were loving him after that Mark Miller tweet where he just melted down on Facebook. They've given, he's been doing World's Finest and Shazam. He's gonna do Justice League Unlimited, because so with DC All In coming up, Justice League is finally gonna have its own ongoing series again, because Dawn of DC was the only era of DC not to have the Justice League as a part
Wait,
of it. Essentially,
isn't All In the alternate universe?
so Dawn of DC is not getting rebooted. They're gonna have a bunch of creative teams get overhauled. Mark Wade is gonna be on Justice League, Action Comics Weekly. He's still doing World's Finest, and Shazam's gonna have a newer creative team because he was the person before. But
And
they
that's
already
in
signed him on
regular
anyway.
continuity, though, right?
Yeah, the Ultimate Timeline. I don't know if he's doing anything in that currently.
When does that launch? I thought that was part
DC
of
All
All
In.
In.
DC All In launched this week. Absolute
Okay, but that
Batman
was
number
just a
one
preview
launches
book, right?
next. Yeah,
Okay.
it was supposed not. It was supposed to
I
give
may
you
check that
the
release
story
out.
about what universe you're in and what storyline is going to be going forward. Because this week was DC All In. This week coming up is Absolute Batman, which Scott Snyder's been hyping this up for like months on it. He's
I
real.
still haven't read Court of Owls, but I should. I keep
Then
hearing
after that,
people. I
it's
talked to.
Absolute Wonder Woman, and then Superman is coming out. But
No,
I
I don't care
mean,
about Wonder Woman so much, but
I'll say, I mean, I like that DC did a few good things with All In, specifically the no reboot thing. They say finally understood. Hey, you don't have to reboot everything. Just get, because comics can benefit from that. Just get a new creative team if the sales have gone down. They do this with Iron Man all the time. Jerry Duggan, eventually the sales tanked on his Iron Man run. Marvel's like, you know what? New number one, new team. Why a new number one? Just get a new team. You're already like 20 issues in, you know? Oh God, I just hate that. I'm glad DC didn't do that. And I'm glad the fact that they finally understood this. if you want to make different types of stories with legacy heroes, just make a separate universe. The only issue
Oh
that
yeah,
most fans are going to have is the same one they have with Marvel, which is like, well, why are you making a new universe when you can't get the main one right? It doesn't matter. Because they're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it to pump their sales numbers up for a bunch of new
yep,
issue number ones and a bunch of new ongoing series headlined by different creative teams. They're not doing it because they really care about certain continuity issues or how one side's going. They saw Marvel's success relaunching their Ultimate Universe.
yep.
They want the same thing with Absolute Batman. There's a reason why Batman's first. They did the same thing DC did. They did
Batman,
an Ultimate Invasion event thing. Sorry, they did Absolute
you all
Power.
in.
They let it to All In, and then you had Absolute Power. Then you let into the one shot like Marvel did with their one shot. Then they're leading with Batman, their biggest character. This is all copied from Marvel.
Oh
Do
yeah.
they have an identity at this point, or are they just going to copy everything Marvel does? They
Well,
did it
that
with
was
the
the same
DC
thing
live
they
action
tried to do.
universe. That failed. Remember that? That failed for
Yeah,
them.
and they got James Gunn from Marvel, but
Oh no,
but
they did
they
get
got
it from Marvel.
fucked. They got fucked. They got fucked this weekend with that new Joker movie.
I'm seeing it on Wednesday. I'm seeing it Wednesday after my
I haven't seen it.
one-on-one
I
with
haven't seen it,
Tiny.
so I'm not going to say anything. But all I'm going to say is, just from what I can see from it, from what people are saying about it,
Mhm.
they went out and they like cut James Gunn off at the ankles, dude. Like he's got to be pissed because that movie. What that movie is that movie is overt brand damage. This is furthering the idea that people that are done with comic book movies. Now, are they? No. We're just tired of shit movies. But you keep making shit comic book movies, people are going to be less inclined to go
I
see a
think
comic
that's
book
the
movie because they're
final
going to think
nail
it's
in the
shit.
I think that's the final nail in the coffin for that era of DC. There's the reason why people are saying they moved away
Dude,
from that. It was a tear. First of all, no one asked for a Joker 2. Even the people that liked the movie said, I'm cool with this just being a
I'm
one
not going
and
to
done
watch
kind
it.
of thing.
But like, this is the problem, though, dude. It's brand damage for James Gunn. Like, it makes me even less likely to give two wet shits about going to see a new Superman because DC will flat out put out one, they will put out crap, and two, they will make shit specifically to shit on fans over. They will burn $250 million
Plus
just to do
marketing.
this to the fans. Yeah, plus marketing. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
fans, here's what we
Yeah.
think of you.
And I
Fuck
know
you,
that's not
Judge.
James Gunn because they had already like started working on this movie before he was even hired to be their Kevin Feige.
No, I know
Like
it's
But
not
like,
him, but
what can he do though? That's the thing is
nothing.
when he became when he became the Kevin Feige, they already had Black Adam coming out, The Flash, Shazam
Yep.
2, Aquaman 2, Blue
Brand
Beetle,
damage.
Joker
Brand
2.
damage. Brand damage. All of it.
He's
But
got
see,
to
this is the
really,
thing.
really dude. Like,
No,
what's the
dude,
thing? The PR bullshit. He's got to really
he
put some good PR out there, man.
he's got to somehow pump good PR, but no matter what, the movie will come out and people will see it. And if it isn't like the best fucking superhero movie ever, it's going to tank, and so will his universe. Nobody's going to go watch it because nobody's going to give a shit. This is the thing. People are getting tired of bad movies, and this is what's happening, especially with Joker. They're associating movies that hate fans
Mm-hmm.
with comic book movies. They're associating Hollywood that is a Hollywood that is out of touch with its fan base. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
associate that with comic book movies. They're going to associate bad movies with comic book movies, and normies are just going to just check out. They're like, why the fuck do I want to go see another Superman movie? Like, eh,
That's the
why,
thing
why
is
again?
he knows, I think everyone knows that this is essentially, if I were to call what they did before like the new 52, where they tried to basically redo
Yeah.
everything, this would be like their rebirth. Guys, they're not getting to a dawn of DC by, you get what I'm saying. This is their last shot, and and by I mean rebirth, I mean they better rebirth this
What did they
universe in
do
a
in
way that
Dawn
is,
of DC?
well,
Did they bring back
that's the
original
thing.
continuity and just scrap New 52?
That's the Dawn of DC. What did they do beside reboot but beside all new all new issue ones and titles and all that bullshit? That's the thing
Yeah, it's
with
like,
DC is if this is supposed to be their DC rebirth with James Gunn, that Superman movie, first of all, it has to be a financial success because we know how movies are now. They got to be financial successes, or the studios aren't greenlighting more things. And also, given the movie's budget and marketing costs, At least if he can put out a movie like Deadpool Wolverine, which is basically like a solid 7, 8 out of 10 movie, as long as they can put out quality like that, movies that are about 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, I think they can
That's
start
the thing.
somewhere.
Like,
Start small and
it's got to
work
be.
your way up.
That's the thing, though. I don't think they can start small with this. Not after yet again showing the audience out there how much you despise them. Like they're not going to be able to just have a 7 Superman movie. They're going to have to put out a 9
You
or
need
a
an 8
10.
or
It's
a
going to have
9
to
at
be.
least.
It's
Yeah.
going to have to be on par with the Christopher Reeve shit as far as the fans are concerned,
Yeah.
or it's going to be seen as a failure, and it's going
Mhm.
to probably doom the next projects thereafter. It just is. If
Mhm.
he's not making the best superhero movie that's probably come out since, say, Avengers, he's done. It's already done. It's dead at launch. If he's fucking around with it, if he's doing any of this Hollywood trope shit that we see now,
Mhm.
it's done. It's over with. We're not buying it. I'm not going to see it. Like that movie, I'm probably not going to see it on launch week. So if I don't get positive like feedback from somewhere, I'm not going to waste my time, dude. It's
I
so
can't do
fucking
that, man. I
expensive to
gotta
go to the
watch it opening
movies, man.
weekend. It's Superman. I gotta go.
Nah, man, it's so fucking expensive to go to the movies anymore.
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah. Because that's the other thing that he does have going for him is that he is working on mixing in the animation element that DC's done very well throughout the years with
we'll see.
with the universe. Hopefully he'll realize, hey, if I can't do this character justice in live action, we can do it animated. Because that's the thing too, and this is a problem that Warner Bros. Has always kind of failed on too. They know their DC animated stuff has always been well liked by the fans, even though they've had bad word of mouth with DC products forever. But the animation stuff was a consistent high point for them for a very long
Yeah,
time
there were
until
ups and
recently with
downs,
that
but
Tomorrowverse. Yeah, to be fair, they've had ups and downs, and that Tomorrowverse was more downs than ups. I don't understand why they never just pivoted and just did a animated only universe, right? The reason why they don't is because they think that animation probably is for children. They have that like, oh, it's just a kids movie thing because their egos are just absolutely out of this world, and they think they're actually more better than they are. If they had did an animated only shared universe, I think they would be actually on
well,
top
dude,
with Marvel. But
that
you know,
or their problem was is that they couldn't necessarily figure out how to do it. Look what happened with the last animation that Warner Brothers was involved with. It was so bad that they wouldn't even air it on Max. They gave it to fucking Amazon
they
to
sold
rot.
that shit to Amazon Prime, bro. That's
Yeah, they're
terrible.
like, "Nah, fuck this. This is bad.
David
This is not
Zaslav
gonna make money."
saw the early footage of that and went, I can make 200 million off this from Amazon, selling this dog shit to them. It's Batman, so obviously Amazon's going to buy it because they want more content for
They
the
want
streaming
more
service.
content, and Bezos doesn't give a shit, dude. He could literally like roll into the office one day drunk and delete the entirety of Amazon Prime Video,
And it wouldn't hurt the
and
company at
and
all.
yeah, it would do nothing, absolutely nothing.
And debatably, it's not profitable. It's not a profitable venture for the company anyway,
Nope, they lose
because you're
money on
looking,
it consistently.
yeah, you know how much money they probably pay. Rings of Power itself, in its own budget,
Billion.
is worth enough to get rid of it because there's no way Amazon, even with the bonus of the free shipping, which is crazy that I'm going to say this, doesn't net the company a profitability on that streaming service. That's
Nope,
crazy to think about. You know,
nope.
he's kind of
It's
just
more
doing it
effective in the
because
shipping.
he's just flinging around his dick, going, "I can have a big, massive Walmart
Why do
company,
you
and I
think
can
he
also have
made
a
a
streaming
fucking
service."
he made an outer space rocket ship company because he wanted to compete with Elon. The only thing Elon hasn't done is buy a media company, but he did buy X, so I guess there's that.
Yeah,
But that's definitely been more of a boon for him than Prime Video has been for anybody. Prime Video is a joke to everybody who knows about it.
Prime
The
Video
only
is
thing,
only usable for the free shipping. That's it. I think the
yeah,
only reason why it has subscribers is because of the free shipping. If
three
you
things.
if you poll people right now and you ask them why do you have this, they'll say it's free shipping. Content is definitely second.
Oh yeah, dude. There's only three things that have ever been on Amazon Prime that are worth watching. They're not worth the
Mhm.
service, but if you've already a Prime member, it's worth it to watch them. It's Grand Tour, Clarkson's Farm, and Invincible isn't terrible. It's all
Season one
right.
was really good.
Yeah,
I've not seen season two yet, so I
I
can't
watched
speak. But
season
I
two. It
just read the
wasn't bad.
comics.
in all honesty, it kind of took care of some of the problems that I had with season 1. It was a bit better. I think it was them trying to stick a bit more to the source material. At least it seemed like what I know of the
Mhm.
source material. I haven't read a ton of it. I should though.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing too. Is they also have the boys, and a lot of people have said the boys just went off the rails from being that weird parody satire superheroes
Dude,
gone bad kind of thing. You know.
I read The Boys from its inception nearly through to the end of it. I think I did read all the way through to the end of the series. And I don't know why. Like The Boys was played the fuck out before the comic book was even done. The joke, the concept, even the characters. Like
Mhm.
that was what like that book was that whole concept was already played out, tired, and done. But the comic book itself went to complete shit. It was great for like I think about the first 3 years, it was really good, but it
Mhm.
needed to end, and he just wouldn't end it. They weren't telling any more story. They weren't doing anything anymore. It just became a point where it was
I
like,
feel like a comic
it
like
was
that
like,
just loses its luster after a while. How many more times can you say, "Oh, the superhero like fucking slit this dude's throat and his head fell off," and you
but
laugh
that's
at
all it
it? Like,
became, dude. It became basically different graphic ways for superpowers to kill people because they're retarded, and different ways that superheroes could be degenerate, perverted fucks. And that was it. That just became the rolling theme of it. It was like a
mhm,
bad B film with mediocre titties and overly graphic fucking, you know, sex or murder scenes.
mhm.
That was it. That's all it was. It was it got boring.
I was
He
recently on
basically
Nick
stopped
Weiser's
making an
show,
effort.
and he wanted me to buy. He said, "You want to get in Conan the Barbarian?" I was like, "Never been into Conan the Barbarian." I'm not saying I don't hate the character. I just never been exposed to the character really that much. He's like, buy the first volume of the newest series that just started. So I bought that. That was only like it's like $5 anyway. Pure Factory. People think I spent a lot of money. Pure Factory. Here,
Really?
that is not all of my stuff. I have way more than that. Let's just say. Most books, if you just buy them from Amazon or like used bookstores, they're like $5. It's not that much money, honestly. You're only going to pay that much money if there's only like no reprint for a book, or you're just buying an omnibus, or you're buying like an epic collection from Marvel. To be fair, it really just does depend. You know, I find some deals off eBay. I found someone who was selling the Superman and Batman Detective and Action Comics 1000 hardcovers,
Hmm.
$20 for both of them. See,
Oh wow.
you just have to know where to look, honestly. I feel like some people are only just looking at like Amazon, which I do. Like I buy a lot of from Amazon, but you
Yeah.
gotta broaden your horizons a little bit. You know, like these books, guys. That whole Batman Tom King run I have over there, that probably costs like less than $10. Well, sorry, less than $20.
It's only worth like $5,
It's
if
worth like
that.
$1 for being honest. It's worth like
Fucking
three
penny.
pennies.
But what was it? Conan the Barbarian Bound in Blackstone?
Whatever the newest, the one that started in 2023, I think.
One looks new, but I don't know when this started.
Let me see. It's the Conan the Barbarian one that basically it's the one ongoing
Oh,
series
that
right
was
now.
2024 from Titan
Yeah, yeah,
Comics.
yeah. It's from Titan Comics. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yep, yep.
All right. That looks I dig the art on the cover. Who's writing this?
This is written by Jim Zub. I've never read anything this guy's
Never
written
heard of the guy,
before.
which it could be a good thing. I mean, in all honesty, these days.
Oh, the newest trade comes out this week actually. So volume 3 is dropping. I think this week or
Yeah,
next
you'll
week.
have
I
to
don't
tell
know
me what you
honestly.
think of it, dude. I'm always up for reading something outside of the norm. But I have so much to read. You know what I just finished reading that was actually really decent, and he's about to drop the next
Mhm.
one. This was this was good. I liked this. It was a good graphic
Ooh.
novel format telling of kind of the origin of Dracula. They stick to this idea that he was Vlad the Impaler, and it was the Turks invaded his country, and he sought out dark powers in order to kind of defeat his enemies, etc. It told a good story. It was compelling. Like for just a quick synopsis of it, or not a synopsis, but just a review. It was compelling. It was interesting. No spoilers here. Kind of the way he becomes a vampire is a really cool
Mhm.
concept that I've never read. Excuse me, Bram Stoker or anything like that. So I've never read like the
You said
OG
it
original
was called
story of how he
Drac.
became a vampire.
To
But yeah,
Dracula.
Dracula by Kelly Jones and Matt Wagner. This is by Orlock Press, which I think is just their little indie label
Oh,
that
I
they do
found
it
it.
under.
Yeah, Dracula Book 1, The Impaler.
Where
Yep, right here.
I heard they might be selling it through Dark Horse. Like they may have actually got
Uh,
a regular, like this
if you
isn't
get
even
the
a
trade,
normal
wait,
size
how,
comic either. It's
which one do
big.
you have?
This is book
That's the
one.
hard. That's a hardcover.
This is a hardcover from their actual Kickstarter that they did. So this is their crowdfund.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this is
The one on
bigger. It's a
Amazon is going to be
hardcover.
a paperback.
Yep. They did get it
Comes
published
out
through Dark
October
Horse.
22nd.
Yep.
Yeah.
They got Dark Horse to publish it. They did a really good job with it. Because one, they got this book in our hands in time before they published it, and they gave us bigger format. So this is not your normal comic size. Like
Yep.
see here. This is Monster Island. So it's considerably bigger. You've got more stuff in the back. You got all the extras, script stuff, art stuff, things like that in the background that are really cool. But yeah, a really nice hardcover, really good book. I'm gonna probably back the Kickstarter for book 2, which is The Wives of Dracula. This one was The Impaler,
What?
so the origin. It was good.
Oh, another thing that a lot of indie creators don't realize, dude, is that even the major companies you would say are like big time title publishers, even they'll do Kickstarters. Boom has done it for
Yep.
Power Rangers. Oh fucking hell. There's the one company that does it for G.I. Joe, actually. I forgot which one is through G.I. Joe, but G.I. Joe had a massive Kickstarter for the compendiums of the original G.I. Joe issues right there. I remember they crowdfunded Berserk from Boom Studios, actually. Oh, God, man. The fact that the major publishers can do crowdfunders, people have said they don't like it that much because they feel like it's double dipping. They should have the resources on their own, but they're realizing, hey, if we have a big title and people just can just pay us money directly through a crowdfund, that's more of a direct way of making money than putting the floppies in a shop,
Well, that's the thing, dude. With the way shops are dying, in all honesty, it's not necessarily the worst means of doing.
And that's the other thing is like indie creators have to realize that even major publishers like Image is putting out weekly indie titles under their banner from creators you probably never even heard of. So not only do indies have to basically market even harder, in my opinion, you're also competing with big publishers that are releasing indies weekly.
Yep.
I mean, Image can do it at such a fast rate. That's why people want to get in with Image, because they can be like, hey, I can be an indie guy under the company that produces indies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, WG is right. Yeah, you can gauge the demand of what people really want by the crowdfunders. Like G.I. Joe has a huge crowdfunder. That book is coming out massive. I never got anything from Graham Nolan as far as like his Compass comic stuff. Isn't he? Aren't those stories like Monster Hunter, Ghostbusters kind of themed? That's not
It's
really
basically
my
what
stuff
it is.
generally.
It's usually not mine either, but it looked interesting, and I like Graham's work in general. The artwork inside of it is actually really nice. This first one is a little short. I think the next one's a little bigger, but they're about trade paperback size. But this is also a reprint of something of his from like the late 90s. And then he did a sequel to it in 2018. So I don't know where he published Monster Island or returned to Monster Island in 2018. But yeah, they look entertaining enough. What these look like is this thing that we were saying about All American Lawman. It looks like a fun read in a different genre. Like the artwork is fun. It's it's a little cartoony. You're gonna have some interesting little creatures and monster dudes, and it's like a Saturday morning cartoon, is what it looks like to me. Like but it isn't graphic or anything. Like this is something you could probably give to your kids. Like this is in line with the kind of stuff that even like Gabe El Taib was talking about. A good fun read. It looks like something I'm gonna be able to get through quickly. Like this is probably the most dialogue that I see in the whole book. They're telling a lot of the story with the art, but Graham is competent with that. The monsters look cool. Like, you've got this dude saving a woman. Like it's good classic, all American, just like fun comics. So, I'm gonna read through those two. He's putting up the third soon, and I might pick it up from him because they look interesting, but I'll see how they read, see if I have fun with it, and yeah, we'll go from there. I still have so much crap behind me to get to.
Yeah, same here.
Void Rises 2,
I
Ultimate
so
Spider-Man.
I did the Riprazine #1 review. I reviewed Wolverine Revenge, Aliens versus Avengers, and today I uploaded my Wolverine Deep Cut, all issue 1 reviews of those series actually. Currently, my Marvel pull list for what I'm reading right now is just Avengers and Wolverine. I'm also reading the other Wolverine book. That's going to be the main title one. I'll say this: I liked Wolverine Revenge of Jonathan Hickman. Like I said before in my review, there was some really stupid shit about how they progressed that plot in Aliens versus Avengers. It wasn't a horrible book, like I said.
Was it better than what they did with fucking Deadpool Wolverine?
Yeah, it was just the problem is like how they progressed the story was very plot-ish. Like, okay, there was a part in the book where the lady who was the daughter of Mr. The Invisible Woman and Reed Richards, she said like the aliens came over her, which wouldn't make any sense at all considering she was just in a building working on an alien egg. So I don't know what her power set was, but I don't know how she got infected with one of them by tampering with one of those queen eggs. So in the story, when the aliens came to Earth, they dispersed the queen eggs. There's 4 of them across the world, and eventually the aliens all took over until there was just one city left, which is kind of weird in that universe because you think there's no superheroes to stop it, but it's an out of continuity book. It's an
Yeah,
Elseworld story. So same with Wolverine Revenge. I enjoyed Wolverine Deep Cut. That for me right now would probably be one of the best comics of the year, barring if the other 3 issues hold up because
really.
both are 4-part miniseries.
Who
Yeah,
wrote it?
Chris Claremont.
What's it about?
Oh god. Okay, so basically Wolverine's on his own going to do something solo.
That's what they used to do with
And
them all the time, dude. They used to have Wolverine books, mini series, and stories where I mean, he had his own book ongoing where
yeah,
he
the
just
art is
went off
great.
and did his own shit.
It's in the review. The art is actually fantastic. They did a great job in that book, honestly. And I don't know if Wolverine Revenge is a 4-part miniseries, but I mean, the only problem that I have currently is like if Marvel for that title, Aliens vs. Avengers, they're going to charge someone $7.99 for it. $7.99.
How many pages is
44
it?
pages. 44.
I mean, mm,
And it was delayed
yeah.
because Jonathan Hickman right now is doing Ultimate Spider-Man, that series, and he's doing Wolverine Revenge. And I guarantee he's going to be working on something else very, very soon. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up here in a little bit. A few more things to ask. First one is, you overall enjoy being a dad at this point now. Is there any advice you'd give to any of the dads out there that are probably similar in your position actually with maybe like older kids, not like babies or anything, but like older kids and don't really know how to navigate giving them advice or
I mean, I
helping them
guess my
out?
kids are kind of older too. I just realize you're gonna fuck up sometimes. You're gonna get mad and yell at your kids,
Mhm.
and it's not bad to be a disciplinarian, especially with boys. They need discipline. They need somebody who's going to provide discipline and structure and stability. That's kind of your job. That's what you're there to do. You're there to be the
Mhm.
rock with which everything else in the family can be anchored and tethered, and things can be built upon. You're there to provide a foundation for whatever it is they're going to build out of their lives is going to be. So, but you just realize you're gonna make mistakes and you're not gonna know what you're doing at first because there isn't really. I mean, there's plenty of books on it, but there's no book to tell you exactly how you're going to be a father or exactly what's going to happen with your life while having kids. So it's not it's just one of those things you got to kind of roll with the punches. You got to learn to kind of just take things as they come and work through it and never stop struggling to do more, to have more, to provide them with more. I mean, I know there's definitely there's a point with which where you may be doing so much that you have to make that choice between family and work and things like that, and you've got to work on a good work life balance. I've teeter tottered with it for a while. I fear that I'm going to end up doing that again for a little while, but always try to keep that as a cornerstone in your mind that you've got to go back and touch grass with the family and get yourself away from work, or even away from the other things that you're doing in life, and just focus in and sit down and like have fun with your kids, spend time with them, do stuff with them pretty regularly, and just be present. That's like the most key thing, which is sad to say that that's the most key thing, because society has convinced us that basically we don't need to exist. And they've convinced so many other people that fathers are just not
Mhm.
important and we shouldn't care because they're a joke that should be laughed at, like Homer Simpson. But it's not. You actually need fathers in your life. You can one of the telltale signs of how things are going to go in a child's life is to turn, to show whether or not both of your or to see whether or not both their parents are present in their life. And just look
Mhm.
at the statistics on that. Look at what like single mother households and everything else end up looking like. It's very important to be present as a father, no matter the scenario you find yourself in, no matter what goes on between you and your wife. I know the divorce rate is out of control. I don't have this problem, but like, I know I have family that doesn't stuff, and the key thing is just being present no matter what the scenario is. You're there, they're your children, you're there to raise them, you're there to be with them. You never want them to feel like you're not present or you're not interested in them.
The one of the few things is since you're a comic book person, how would you what's advice you would give to a new person trying to get into comic books actually, as far as like the easiest way to ease yourself
Oh
in?
God. These days,
Yeah.
it's so I don't know. Is anybody interested in getting into mainline comics these days? I mean, God,
Hopefully,
there's so much
yes.
trash out there.
God.
That
Hopefully,
to
yes.
some extent, that that there's these nuggets of gold that you have to
Yeah.
sift through so much shit to find.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're like me and you're like a dad and you're maybe getting your kids into the medium to some extent,
Mhm.
um, you know, like if you're getting your kids into it, simple things like Sonic. Sonic is a
Okay.
great spot, great way to get your kids into just reading in general. It doesn't have to be just that, but like, in all honesty, other places to start might be with the animated series. Like, check it out. Check it out at
Mhm.
its peak. Look at the concept of like Batman the animated series at its peak, at what is peak Batman. Like, there is few things in media, unless you're going way back into comics, that are going to be as peak Batman as the animated series. It did it the way it needed to be done. It
Mhm.
serialized it. It told you a new story every single episode. And I remember when Paul Dini actually wrote Batman for a while, and that's what you got.
Mhm.
These great 1 or 2 issue arcs where you got a story, new story every month or every other month with Batman, and it was so fucking good in the comics. So check out the animated series stuff. See if you're into it. Like if you're into even superheroes. Like if you don't know if you're into superheroes. Like so many people watch the Marvel movies, but I don't I don't and the comic book stores don't and the sales numbers don't count the comic book movies as a gateway into comic books because they
Never
aren't and they
happened.
never
There's
have
no
been.
synergy.
Nope.
There's simply just no
No.
synergy. So it will never happen unless they directly have synergy.
Yep. It just isn't a thing and it probably never will be. And that's fine. Comics is something that should have been gate kept a hell of a lot more. But if you want to get into it though, like if you want to like check something out, like get some old stuff because this is what you can do that doesn't cost you money. Get these big compendiums out there. Like this is let's see.
You could get that
This
for like
list
$10 retail,
it
like
lists for
off
30
Amazon.
bucks, but it's probably $23 right now on Amazon. And look at that. Look at that. You get that much. I
Yeah.
know floppies are interesting and that's what all the cool kids are doing. Not really anymore these days. Frankly, this is what people are doing these days. This is what actually sells. But
my
pick up
my
something like
my
this and read
advice
through it.
always is I mean, I don't want maybe the way I got into it was weird, but I would say this: type up top 10 best X character stories for whatever character you like. Gauge which ones kind of look interesting to you, and the ones that you read look or sound interesting. Go from there. You know, I
Yeah,
always say encyclopedias are good too. So, like, if you
get stuff
like,
like this.
or yeah, there's
The
also
whole
compact
story.
comics out there. Yeah, DC compact comics. If you're interested in DC, it's a great way. Marvel's Epic collections are a great way. They reprint all their older stories in order to let you lead
Or
into
the
wherever the characters are
compendiums.
at. Yeah,
The
those are great.
compendiums
Yeah.
that DC is putting out. Like if you want to see Tim Drake, my favorite Robin. If you want to see Kyle Rayner, my favorite Green Lantern. You want to see Chuck Dixon's night, launching of Nightwing. I mean, the Tim Drake, a lot of that was written by Chuck Dixon as well. Like if you look
Mhm.
at both of those compendiums, those are 3 great compendiums that are going to introduce you directly to a character. It's like $30, but you're going to get a ton of content out of them. So you're going to be reading it for a while. And that's the thing too. You can get into this, and you don't have to. You don't have to get into continuities. This is the one thing that will drive some people crazy. Is they'll sit there and they'll try to they'll be completionists. Oh, excuse me. They'll try to be completionists about a story, but you don't always necessarily have to. Like if you go into a book and you're looking to read about Tim Drake, you're going to get the Tim Drake books, and there's going to be threads that'll go out, but you can just focus in on that
Yeah,
book.
reading orders are
Another
so
thing,
overrated, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
another
you don't
thing you
have to
can do,
start coming directly in. Just try to find the volume 1 of where that specific series starts.
yeah, another thing you can do is, I mean, it just depends. There's so much stuff out there for different things you can be interested in. If superheroes aren't your thing, you've got shit out there like Conan. If you're into fantasy,
Yeah.
Conan's a good place to be. If you're into horror, there's tons of
There's a
indie stuff out there. There's tons of
there's a
stuff
bunch of
at
like if you're into like
Image.
even if you're into like franchises like Planet of the Apes, Predator, Alien,
Yep.
there's
Yeah,
trade
if you're
paperbacks
just
out there for
into
those.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's Alien books, there's Predator books. If you're just into franchise books, I mean, shit, there's Power Rangers books.
there
You know,
are
you can go off and find
omnibuses
those.
too. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
those.
you can get, and that's the thing. Go pick up a volume 1 of something. Like get a trade paperback. Now,
Yeah.
again, that may not be a gateway into floppies, but frankly, dude, floppies are floppies are overrated. I'm just gonna say it. It's just an over. It's a collector's game. It's a young man's game. I don't know, but in my old age, I've come to the realization that I spend a shit ton of money on stories that I'm not selling. Like I have these single issues. I've got tens of thousands of single issues, but
Mhm.
they just sit here, and most of them, the vast majority of them, aren't even worth the cover price anymore. Now,
Yeah.
there's plenty of stuff in here. There's plenty of gold I could dig out of here in mine and probably
Mhm.
make money turning around and selling it. But
Like godlike.
at that point, I should just get rid of the whole collection because that's it's
It's
only
probably worth getting rid of
valuable.
the entire collection than probably selling them individually.
Well, yeah, but the thing is like if I was so there's one thing I would do again. I would probably just do this because I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Am I going to open a comic book shop? I don't know. Am I going to spend the time to dig through 20,000 individual issues and pull out all the
No,
gold I
no,
have
that's
and
why you
try to
have wife
sell
and
it?
kids for that. You give your wife a new job and you pay her.
Yeah, I'd have to start making money on it first. I don't know. I thought about trimming it
Yeah.
back, the collection, and I might trim it back to just the stuff I really care about. So there's probably runs of certain things in there I don't give two wet shits about. And there may be things I consider selling. Like I probably
Mhm.
got the first issue of Birds of Prey I could probably
Mhm.
sell. There's tons of stuff that I could move through and sell if I just wanted to. I just need to spend the time to do it. But there's so many different like genres of stuff out there in comics now. Um, and if you get into it, then you can delve deep into the crap where you're buying, indie comics on Indiegogo and shit like that. But to start off, I would just find something you find interesting. If you find Sword and Sorcery interesting, the Conan books and plenty of other books like them exist out there that you can get in trade. I don't know if you're into One Piece, go read the mangas. The mangas are great. There's an infinite kind of thing, different kinds of things that you can read out there. But as far as I'm concerned, for your bang for your buck, if you want to get into it without spending too much money to get in and out, just go get a volume 1 trade of something.
Yeah. Last things I ask you. First thing is, you got anything planned coming up for 2024, going into 2025?
Dude, everything's up in the air right now, man. Next week's a big week for me. Decides a lot of things. And yeah, I don't know right now. I intend to get back into the content stuff. I've got some ideas for another dad cast, probably talking about like work um coming up. I don't know when. And then long boxing is still one of these things that has been hanging out, and you know, I've got
The only
logos
shows you
for
have
it. I've
basically you appear on is
channel
basically
set up.
this one. The only shows you appear on like is just what this one and Rose Galleries, right?
This one, Rogues Gallery. I'm kind of on Dermy Wormy's Discord on Saturdays, usually because we'll watch a movie and
Oh,
we'll kind of pour in there, and we'll just like I'm
yeah,
just on Discord. I'm not on stream. He's doing a game stream, and we're just like bullshitting in the background about whatever the fuck's going on. But I do appear on other shows occasionally. I'll show up on Wrong Think or Get Ranked with Devil Made Me Do It. I was on
right thing.
Beelzepub on Friday night, so I
Mm.
can't usually stay up that late. It's so fucking late at night.
Yeah, his show is so
It's at
late.
like 12. It's at 12 midnight, dude. I'm usually in bed. Like I'm
Yeah,
usually not in
if
bed
his
after
show's
Roast
on,
Gallery, but close.
if his show's on, it'll be on, but I'll just fall. I don't even know what I'm gonna. I'm just falling asleep. It's so late. That's why people are saying moving forward tomorrow, I'm gonna have the announcements of like the things that I'm gonna be changing coming up. Yeah, a lot of you guys are gonna
Yeah, I
like
know
it.
you've got the time
Honestly,
schedules changed and shit. I'm sorry I
I
can't
worked
be
out
more.
everything. No, it's fine. It's fine. I got
Okay.
everything worked out. And to be fair, that evergreen content I want to start building, even that food content that me and James talked about on the other show just a little bit. Not doing it all the time,
Yeah.
every once in a while. There'll be more plans for it and way more time to get to that other stuff with this new schedule coming up. So that's what I'm rooting for. Also, if I'm being honest here, that the Fridays is just too hard to do it, honestly, at this point. I'm too tired after work. Friday's a very, very tough
Yeah.
day. And I'm just too dead inside.
Dude, I don't
Like
even know what like my schedule is going to be like in November simply because I don't know what's going on.
yep.
But I hopefully, we'll find out
Last
next
thing
week,
is
man.
any shout outs we can give to anyone in particular and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, don't be one. I mean, from a streaming standpoint, like what you're doing, dude. I think people should just get out there, and if you have something to say, jump on camera and say it. I realized that kind of it was funny earlier. It was Tuesday last week. I hadn't been on stream in a while, but a friend Steve was like, oh, he was basically drunk and he wanted to talk about the vice presidential debate. He's like, come on, come on. I was like, all right, fine. I'll fire up a Rumble stream, and I didn't have anything, no intro thing, no countdown, no thumbnail even. I just turned it on. I was like, all right, whatever, fuck it. And sometimes it just takes it, just like go out and do something. Just jump on and do the thing with it and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just always those people that are like, well, I don't know why this person's this, that, and the third. If you have aspirations for wanting to do that, you gotta go out there and do it. Like people always say, but everything's always so negative, which usually just boils down into some bullshit anyway. But if you feel like you could do something better or you have a way of impacting something, you gotta factor in, even when you start, it's gonna be hard unless you get super lucky, honestly. Actually do it,
Well,
it's one
yeah,
of those things where a lot of people just do a lot of saying and not a lot of doing. Actually, if you really feel like you could change the game and do all that stuff, then go do it then,
well,
honestly.
yeah. I think it has a lot to do with
Recommend it.
like I think the YouTube algorithm is more geared toward negative clicks than anything else. Like Rumble doesn't give a fuck, but like because Rumble's algorithm is nobody knows. But as I often say, that people complain about Rumble, but I make more money on Rumble. What little money I've ever made, anyways.
I've gotten paid through
Um,
Rumble. Yeah,
yep, I've been paid a couple times through Rumble.
I
I
think
got
Rumble just honestly, yeah. I think Rumble needs to be a lot more consistent in their updating of their the money you get on your account, minus like the
yeah,
19th of every month. Apparently, the last time was the 19th. Hopefully it's a consistent thing. I would say if you have aspirations right now, don't put all your eggs into YouTube. I learned that the hard way. You can just have your stuff somewhere on the side or stream on the side. You use multi-stream or just be multifaceted. Actually, there's no reason. Like, let's say if Rumble hits it big after their lawsuit's over and they're more in the search for the algorithm of Google, all the people that were there before, even the bigger ones, get even bigger. Actually, because
yep,
there's people are going to be like, well, where's all the content at? There's going to be an endless supply of content that people are going to want to consume because people like to binge older stuff to see kind of where the person's at, just as some many people do. If people binge like hours and hours and hours of old TV show, they're going to be doing it for content, and there's such a huge plethora of content on there. So I would say for any content out there, just make an account, it's the same content you're doing. You're just throwing it up on a different platform and just reap the
yeah.
benefits of getting
It's
followers over time. even if you gain a little bit of fun, it doesn't matter. You're not starting from scratch like most people are going to have to if it becomes big, honestly. You know, you'll be ahead of the curve in a lot of areas. But yeah, man, it was great doing this, a little bit more different than the usual comic book stuff, but I try to weave it in there. Okay, everyone, we're gonna be choosing between the Long Halloween and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. So I'll probably throw that up as a poll for you guys to decide. Whatever you guys decide, that's the book we're gonna do. Because as you guys know, for the comic book channel, I have the floppies to review, and we're gonna choose between that. But probably be better if we just do the Long Halloween because it is Halloween. But whatever you guys are going to pick. So thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Iron Man podcast, and we'll see you guys. What the hell? What the fuck?
You're good now.
Did I just eat my own pussy? I'm just kidding, guys. What the hell is that? I just clicked a button. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Iron Man podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. I have a one-on-one. Then I have the main panel show. Then I have the league show because I have to get through some of these games that I did not get a chance to watch today. On the Monday show, I will be going over some of the changes that I have moving forward. And it's something that I learned from the Cloud9 podcast, which has been my longest running show. I was like, you know what? This show's been running this long because I've been doing it that way, and I need to start doing it that way. It's about the amount of episodes you have in the show that matter. It's more about the journey to get there. So, yes, you guys will have all the information tomorrow. Subscribe to Savage Dad on YouTube, Rumble, follow him on Twitter, all that stuff. We'll see you guys later. Have a great night.